everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. I see some people were on and waiting, so that is good. One of the things that we're going to talk about today, or the thing that we're going to focus on, and I'm really excited about it, is what I have called the elephant in the room. So I meet with clients, and I surf the web all day, and I look for experts and I look for authorities. And one of the biggest pitfalls I see is that people's websites are not set up, they're not conditioned, and they are not pleasing to the people that visit them. And so that definitely impacts your visibility, but it also impacts your revenue. So I am not the website expert, so I had to go and I had to get some help. And so I am really excited today. It is really my first time talking with her directly, but I have been watching her, and I know other people that she has done some amazing work for. So today we're going to talk to Kenya Kelly. She is CEO of If You Brand It, a branding and consulting firm out of Houston, Texas, and she's going to help us design a website that generates more clients, more visibility, and more revenue. Websites are crucial for any business, and sometimes not, just having one isn't enough. If you don't have one at all, you really have an issue. But if you have one that is not working for you, then we want to fix that. So please welcome Ms. Kenya Kelly. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
You popped on and I was like, look at her with all this great energy and great lipstick. You are pulling it off. Yes. Yes. So let's just get right into it. I mean, I love for these conversations to be beneficial to my community and to your community as well, and anybody that helps to pop on, happens to pop on. But what is in your business, because you do a lot with this, in your business, what is the biggest mistake you see with your clients or just in general, and businesses, brands, and their websites?
Yeah. So first, just thank you so much for the interview. I appreciate it so much. I'm like, oh my God, it's Nikki Wood.
I was like, oh my God, it's Kenya Kelly.
So just had to get that out.
Say this because I think this is awesome, because I wanted to talk about this. I've wanted to talk about it for a while, and I had talked to somebody else that I was connected with on LinkedIn, and it didn't pan out. And I was like, because April Franks Hunt talks really highly about you, and I've looked at your stuff, and we connected on Twitter. And one of the biggest things I tell people about media and interviews is that you have got to be ready for the yes at all times. And you did not hesitate. You were like, today, sure, I'm on it. And I was like, perfect. So I am thrilled that we connected in this way. And I'm really, I need to listen to what you have to say today, too. So let's talk about that. The biggest mistake that people make with their websites.
Yeah. So the number one thing that I see is that people, they skimp on their websites and it costs them a lot of money because it, quote unquote, looks bootleg, right? And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I tell people all the time, if you have this dress and they have the most amazing dress and you advertise it on Instagram, people are like, I want to go and buy it. And they have to buy it from somewhere, right? So when they come to your site to buy that dress, if the site looks bootleg, like the pictures are pixelated, nothing's working right, then people will hesitate and say, is that dress really going to look like what I just saw? Is it really going to come on time? Are they going to take all the money out of my debit card? Like, is this even legit? They don't know because it looks sketchy. You know what I mean? And people don't understand that. As soon as somebody goes to your website, they make a snap judgment. Now, nobody's stuff is perfect. I don't care who you are. Nobody's is perfect. But when you go to somebody's site, it immediately tells them something. Either it says, oh, this is good. Oh, this is expensive. Oh, this is something. It just does. Every time we go to somebody's anything, it makes a snap judgment about you, and it may not be true. I talk to so many wedding planners and they're like, oh, I'm the best wedding planner. But if you go to that site and it looks like a bootleg wedding planner, then people are not going to want to spend $100,000 for you to plan their wedding because they just went to this David Tutu and they're like, I want to work with him. So
and if I spending $100,000, I better be working with him. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah.
And I agree. I mean, I think that, just like I said, for my part of the business, and even when I was in media, I mean, the first thing that you want to see is somebody's website. And you want to make sure that they have some very basic elements in place.
Right.
I've been to clients and websites, and they don't have a contact information page. And I'm like, how do you expect people to find you, reach out to you, support you, hire you, if you don't have a contact page? What are some like very basic essentials that every website should have, especially if you're a business or a brand?
Yeah, so the number one thing you said is contact. Even if you have a one-page landing page, that's all it is it says, my name is Nikki Woods, here's my email. It's so important because if somebody goes there, the number one thing they're asking themselves is, how can I do X? Whatever X is, they need to be able to do it. So number one, a contact page, because otherwise nobody can do anything.
Right.
Number two, if you are sending people to your website and they are purchasing something, you need to have a purchasing page, like a product page or a store. But it's not only good enough to have the store, you need to have your payment processor set up. Now, it's like almost secondary that everybody uses PayPal or Stripe, right? If you have it on your site, send me an email and I'll send you an invoice. People are less likely to do that. You want people to be able to point and click and get what they want immediately, right? Because
and I'm going to be the voice of the beginning business owner. Because we've all been there. So, I don't have like Infusionsoft. I don't have that fancy, we don't have like that, all that fancy stuff. Is it okay to just still use PayPal? Is that still okay? Yes. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I just wanted to make
absolutely I love Infusionsoft. Some people call it Confusionsoft, right? It is a very complicated system, right? And Entreport is amazing, but everybody doesn't start with knowing systems and automation. They're like, Entre who? Right? And they just don't get it. That's just like with my branding and consulting firm. We're only a year old. And so our clients get invoices through PayPal, and they are very comfortable with it. They know what PayPal is, right? It's just when you say, here, use PayPal me /500. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have the site, I highly recommend that you just have, it takes just a couple of seconds to go to YouTube and type in how to create a PayPal button. Right. That's like, I'm a DIY in terms, like I have a design team and all that. But if it's late at night, I'm like, YouTube, how to create a PayPal button. And it's like, it's like a 2-minute tutorial will tell you how to do it. So PayPal it's like the number one processor right now, I think.
No, I agree. And I think that it's interesting because, I mean, websites are a part of branding, but they're certainly not all there is to it. Right. And one of the biggest things I try to stress to people, and it does take a lot, and it can be time consuming, but it's so beneficial, is to make sure everything is consistent everywhere. And so if you have your website that looks like one thing and they go to a generic PayPal site, and then, your social media looks like something else. I mean, it's really hard for people to find you and then realize that all of this is the same business, the same brand, the same person.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And, the thing about building a brand and website and all that, it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. I mean, it really doesn't. I always tell people you need one good photo, that one photo, and you just flawless. Like you up against that white wall and you just like flawless, right? You got the exact same banner on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, same everything, right? Even if you have that one page website I know so many people have made millions and all they have is like a landing page. And I'm like, can you please get a website? Because everything was consistent. It was A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It all looked exactly the same. That's like even today to find you on LinkedIn was Nikki Woods. Twitter is Nikki Woods. Facebook is Nikki. Everything is all the same. And once you do it once, you're just copying the same stuff from the one place. People don't realize that it's not that complicated. It's just ask yourself this question. If you're going to go try to find Oprah, what are you going to type in? Oprah.
Oprah. And that is, and I struggle with this sometimes with clients, because one of the biggest things they do is they want to have their personal stuff. So they want to have like the Nikki Woods personal stuff, but then they also want to have the stuff for their business. And I guess for me, it just seems like common sense, but I've been my brand for so long. Yeah. So even when I started a business, it just made sense to make it an extension of what I was already doing. And I realized that's not the case for everybody.
Right.
But we are in 2017 where people no longer separate you necessarily, especially if you're the face of your business, from your actual business. And I talk about Steve Jobs and Apple. I mean, Steve Jobs, he was the face of the business. They didn't have the same name, but he was still the face of the business. And he got talked about. He was, as much of an interest to the public as Apple is.
Yes.
And so it's just, we have to stop, because I love social media, but I don't know anybody that just hangs out on social media anymore, except my mama, to find out what her grandbabies are doing. But, just to be on there, I don't know anybody that does that anymore.
Right, absolutely. And I tell people all the time that if you want to make money on social media, then everything need to be public, right? That's like my name is Kenya Kelly Griffin. That's my last name, right? But like everybody, I go by Kenya Kelly. So all of my social media handles are Kenya Kelly. But even if somebody happens to find my Facebook page that says Kenya Kelly Griffin, it still feels the same. It still looks the same. Like it's all, my profile is public. You can find, comment, like, all type of stuff. Because my thing is, if I'm going to use social media to make money, then I'm going to use this thing to make money. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm going to behave on all of my social media. If I got an issue, I'm going to call my girlfriend, Joy. Hey, listen, let's talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to post my comments on, I'm trying to make money from people. So my stuff has to look like I'm a business owner, whether I'm on my Kenya Kelly Griffin page or Kenya Kelly page. And if you're not using social media to make money, I don't understand. Because I
don't either. Because it is so time consuming. Chanel Kennedy has, and I don't want to mess up your last name, so I'm not even saying it. But Chanel, she says how to handle when your name is not available on all social media sites. And I realize that's the case for some people. What is it that you suggest?
Yeah. So my number one thing is this, especially if you are a single. Well, first of all, if you're a single woman, you're not married. I believe that when I get married, I'll give up my last name and I'll take his. So before I started branding, I said, if I'm going to take his name, that means I got to create a business name that is not that name so it don't mess me up. So Kenya Kelly is my middle name. Like, people in the streets don't realize my last name is Griffin. And I'm like, that's my name. Like, and they're like,
the streets.
and they're like, hey, what? Griffin? And I'm like, that's my government name. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was at church one day, and they called me Kenya Kelly. And I said, oh, it's actually Griffin. They were like, oh, I was like, oh crap, I didn't wrote my name Kenya Kelly to the church. But I believe you can use your middle name. So especially if you're talking about getting married. Now, let's just say you're already married, right? And you're trying to build this personal brand. Well, you could be like, was it Jamie Foxx? That ain't even his name.
A lot of people, and it's funny because I've been Nikki Woods for so long. I've been Nikki Woods longer than I've been my actual legal name. And so it's even with my kids didn't know what my first name was for a long time because nobody calls me it. So we would go places and I would introduce myself and they would be like, oh, really, her name is, because it's such an anomaly to people. But I mean, that's just the way it is in the entertainment business. Do you suggest that if they already have a business, and so say their name isn't, but they have their business what is mybusiness.com.
Yeah.
You suggest that they get the social media, if they can get all the social media handles, that they get it under their business name?
Yeah. So if someone comes to me and they immediately, let's say Tadra Michelle, and she's saying, I want to build a brand. Well, I would first ask her, what's your ultimate goal? Is it building Tadra Michelle or is it X, Y, and Z? If you're trying to eventually build this personal brand, you need to brand your name, right? And so if you can't do your last name or somebody else has it, then you have to be creative. So your name may be Tadra Michelle and somebody has it, but you may have Tadra M or you may have T Michelle, but you don't want to veer off and be like, Coach Beachbody Tiffany. No, because you may not be in Beachbody next year. You may be doing something else, but you want to try to do something that is closely related to who you really are and who they're really going to see. Otherwise, you're going to, I was at FinCon this weekend and I was trying to find this person on stage and I couldn't find her. And she has a whole different Twitter handle. And I said, okay, she should probably change that, but I'm not going to tell her that if she's not asking me that opinion, because it makes it harder to find them. Right, and I'll search, but everybody won't search.
No, I won't search. And people in the media, they won't search. I mean, it should be, because if I can't find you, then guaranteed my listeners can't find you.
Correct.
And so I don't even search. But I agree with what Chef Nina said. I think that if you want to build your name, then you can find a title like author Nikki Woods or speaker Nikki Woods, and you can change it that way. But whatever you pick, whether it's your business name, your personal name, or some variation of, it should be the same on all platforms. So if I find you under your company name, brand it, then I should find you there on LinkedIn. I should find you there on Twitter. I should find it on, it shouldn't be 10 different names because you couldn't find the one that you wanted.
Right.
That's just my point. I agree with you. Like I even got, my children, I got their websites, their domains, I got their social media stuff so that when they're ready, it will be there for them because I know how fast it goes. And I suggest that people do that especially now for their children, because so much of what we do is on the internet now. They don't use it, but it's there should they need it.
Correct.
So that's good. If you guys have any questions while we have Kenya, definitely make sure you ask them. Thank you so much for being on. Also, if you get a chance to share the broadcast, that would be great so that other people can get this information. Hey, Steve-O. I don't know what's the topic. Good looking. I don't. That's like out of 1970, but I appreciate you being on. Hey, Joseph. Hey, Mike. Thank you. And yes, Kim, that's a good point. What are some of the tools that you would suggest? I know WordPress. They have a lot of plugins. They have a lot of templates. It's really good. If somebody initially has to create and set up their website on their own, what are some of the tools that you would suggest?
Yeah, so I'm a little bougie. I don't believe that people should create their own websites. And it may be because I'm in branding and I want to build everybody's websites for them. Right. I'm like, that's probably the number one reason. But I feel like that because you run the risk of creating a bootleg website because you may not know what you're doing. But what I would suggest, I would say that someone should get some kind of like something like lead pages, where it's like a drag and drop type situation. WordPress is amazing. There's a lot of tutorials, but it could get complicated if you really have no idea what's going on. And so instead of you wasting all that time and energy trying to figure out all that with WordPress when that's not really your thing, I would use something like lead pages. And literally it's like click, point, this, that. Is so much simpler than trying to really build a full WordPress website because you're going to.
No, I just wanted to interrupt you because you said that before, and I wanted to make sure that we stayed on that for a little bit because not everybody understands what the difference is between a landing page and Lead Pages is a company that makes landing pages, but there are other ones out there. But I think Lead Pages is probably the number one service right now, and that's what I use as well. But let's talk about the difference between a landing page and a website and some of the different uses so that everybody is clear on what that is.
Yeah. So for me, when I think about a landing page is, and like through something called Lead Pages, you don't technically own that page or what have you. You're paying like a monthly or yearly subscription to a company like Lead Pages to be able to have a site created. And typically when you think about a landing page, it's one page. It may go on and on and on forever, but it allows you to, some of them really look like websites. So you probably can't have like a home, about, products and all that in a landing page.
No, you can.
Oh, you can? I haven't seen those.
Yeah, you can because they have them built up now for events, and all you have to do is change the information. But just to be clear, I mean, a landing page originally, I mean, they're much more involved now, but originally when it started, the landing page was designed literally for somebody just to land on it, give you the information and go somewhere else, as opposed to a website that is, supposed to be much more robust where, you can find out about service, you can do other things, but Lead Pages or landing pages was originally designed just to capture somebody's information. And so I probably have, and Kenya, you're probably the same. I mean, I probably have 200 to 300 landing pages because I just build them for different webinars and different services. And I don't, they don't go necessarily to my website. My website really is just for information about the business, like all of my products, all of my services, like everything is there. But I have a ton of just individual pages for different products that I launch, different services. Hey, Rocky, how are you? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like for me, I have whenever I do like a webinar that I'm really, really promoting, I have one like Build $1 Million Brands or something like that. It is specifically all about that thing that I'm selling. There's a banner, there's all this copy, and there's the buttons that is literally having them do one thing. Most people, when they get a landing page, or they call it a sales page, they have one goal in mind. That's for you to buy this or opt in to that, right? And so you may not be selling anything right now, but you can get a landing page, sales page created that's all about the Nikki Woods brand. Nikki Woods is a motivational speaker, a thought leader, a visionary, yada, yada, yada. Want to book me? Click here to book Nikki Woods. And when they click, it immediately lets them come and email you if you're not able to get a website created. That is beautiful. And it makes it can be amazing. And it's just branded. If you can put your logo, whatever you want on something like that without having to do all the work of a WordPress site or Squarespace if you don't know what it is that you're doing or you can't afford it right now.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And like I said, I mean, it really, and if you're looking at building your email list, they're great for just, offering a freemium or a lead magnet. I mean, it really is a good thing. I want to get some questions before we have to get out of here. Valerie wants to know that she's looked into getting someone to do her website. They want to charge $200 for deposit and $300 for the finished product. And I already know what your answer is going to be. They do quality work. Should I just go with them?
So a couple things. One, the price doesn't seem expensive, so it's not that big of a deal. Deposit is very, very needed because people will, automatically just want you to do all this work and don't want to pay you. So it's customary to get a deposit. Now, to answer that question, I can't really say if you should definitely go with them, but I would encourage you to take a look, ask them to send you 3 to 5 of their best websites. That way you can see, and then you can click on and see all the functionality of all that. You want to find out what all can they do, what all do they require from you, because some of them will, who knows what it's going to look like or what is required. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's the best, and it doesn't mean it's not the best. So I would look at 3 to 5 of their top websites and just understand that web design is a process. You're going to have to be involved. If they're not writing your content, you got to write it. Just understand that it's a joint venture. They're going to create, but they don't create out of osmosis. You've got to help them in that process.
Yeah, and you should. And I always tell this to people. There are 3 things that I've learned from building websites. The first thing is you absolutely have to be involved. I am such a hands-off person. Like, I want to just hand it to you and let people work their magic. But you also have to realize that it's your brand and nobody else can help shape your brand better than you. Right. So you really do have to set aside the time to be involved. Correct. The other thing is that most of the website companies that I've been happy with have done a consultation beforehand. So you've been able to talk to them. You kind of get a feel for who they are. In the freelance world, not everybody should go together. And so sometimes you work with people and the energy's not there, or they just, you have to determine that. And if somebody says that they won't meet with you before that you send over a deposit or before you send over that check, I would be a little concerned. Yeah. And then the final thing is that it really does not have to be as expensive as I think that some people, when we first started building websites, you were paying like $5,000. Right. But now, it definitely has changed. I would encourage you, like Kenya said, if you're looking for going with anybody, to have them send over your websites. But I really would encourage you to look at Kenya's site too, just to get an idea. Because I really am impressed. I haven't worked with Kenya yet. I have not, even though that probably will be a goal of mine. But I know people that have worked with her, and that's the other thing. I always ask for recommendations. If I'm looking for somebody, I always want to know who they've worked with so that I can, check with them to see what the experience is. Anybody that's in this space as a freelancer, consultant, coach, that doesn't encourage you to ask questions, I would be a little nervous of. Anybody, is open, that has done the work and is, satisfied with their work, will provide references so that you can double check. And if you do your due diligence, I think that you'll be satisfied. I think that we get so rushed that we don't want to ask the questions, or we feel intimidated. Right. And don't want to ask the questions, but I always encourage people to ask those questions.
Absolutely. And don't be nervous. Just understand it's going to be a joint venture. So just You're going to have to figure out how to work well with your designer. You have to convey to them. You have to throw up your vision on them because they can't see what you can't see. And so it's a process together.
No, absolutely. So, Robert, I think we kind of talked about that, but I'll have Kenya, add a couple more thoughts about the disadvantage of having a personal page and a business page on social media.
So disadvantages. So, I mean, with Facebook, I love Facebook. They're absolutely amazing. And so Facebook as a business, they are, if you have your business page, people aren't seeing your posts as much because they, as a business, they want to make more money. And so they're encouraging you to buy ads, in which they should. Now, it looks like on your personal page, like if you go live or you do things, people are typically seeing things more often through your personal page, but it goes against Facebook policies to kind of do more of the business stuff on your personal page. So from a technical business standpoint and legal, you want to try to go with Facebook's policies. But the last thing you want to do is to get your personal shut down. And that shuts down everything. So don't get me wrong. I've been guilty of being on my personal page for years doing business, but I'm slowly going, okay, I don't want to get shut down. But I also understand that in order for me to get the most out of my Facebook, I have to do more on the platform. They want me to be there all the time. So they want me to go live on my business page. They want me to talk about, they want me to be there. So if you want to get the most out of your business page, run ads, talk on there, go live on there, push people to there. Because ultimately, what's happening on your personal page, if you're making money there, Facebook gonna get a hold of that. So just go ahead and just start the whole journey to your business page.
Yeah, my rule is because, I have a really big following on my personal page. And it's bigger than what I have on my business page, even though it's okay there, but it's bigger and I definitely get more engagement here. So my general rule is I don't sell anything on my personal page. Now I'll invite you to a webinar and I'll sell you there, but I won't post anything about a price or a service on my personal page.
That's good.
I do, when I do live videos, I do use Lively, but I don't know if you use them or not, Keenan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it shares to everything, every page that you ever wanted it to share to, it shares to. And so I make sure that, getting the engagement here, but it's also on my Facebook page for some people who may not be connected to me here. But I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of people, they think that just because they have everybody on their personal page that they can use that for everything.
Right.
And I do know people that get shut down. And when your personal is shut down, like Kenya said, your business page is shut down automatically.
Right.
All your groups, everything. So you have to be very careful about using that.
Yeah.
Kevin had a question, and I'm not quite sure if I understand it, but he says, sometimes I'm booked as an audience member on shows with the speaking part, and they only want to highlight my first name. What's that about? I don't know. Do you have suggestions for how to leverage these opportunities? Should I use my nickname? I guess my first question would be, how long have you been in the business? Because Kevin is kind of a common name for it to, just be used. But if that's how you're branded already, and Kenya, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're more of a branding expert than I am. But it seems to me, and I've had to not rebrand but transition my brand, several times. It's much harder to rebrand yourself than it is to create a brand new.
Right.
A brand new image. And so I always encourage people to spend the time and the money to get it right the first time. Yes. So that you just grow your brand and you can transition your brand, but you don't have to do a complete rebrand.
Right. And I think that's why it's so important too. I was just talking to somebody before the broadcast about why you have to get clear on who you are, first of all. Like I tell my clients, just try your best to think about what do you really want to be doing 10, 20 years from now? Once you get clear on that, then a coach, business coach, branding coach can help you create the brand around where it is you're going. But if you're not clear and you come out as Roughneck Kevin, and then 5 months from now you are Pastor Kevin, well, now everybody calling you Roughneck Kevin, so you have to get clear first, right? And then whatever you tell everybody to call you, whatever you say, that's what they're going to call you. That's why everybody calls me Kenya Kelly, even though my name is Kenya Kelly Griffin, because I told everybody what to call me. I told them who I am and how I am. So that's what they expect. And so if you do that out of the gate, tweaking things here and there, you won't have a problem. But you can't be Roughneck and then Pastor. It just kind of
Well, and I think because like I tell people, like this has been my brand for more than 20 years.
Right.
And obviously things have changed. When I first started, I was, 19 and I was single, no kids. And then you change and you transition. But like Kenya said, if you really spend the time, thinking about your brand and what you want it to stand for, and you spend time nurturing your community and nurturing your audience, 9 times out of 10, they grow with you. So like the people that were hanging out with me when I was 19, they were 19 too. And now we've all gone through this life together. But my foundation for my brand has always been education and empowerment. And even though it was a little different when I first started, it was more like women's empowerment. It was more in the entertainment realm, but it was still about information and education. And it's still the same. It's just more in a business aspect.
Right.
But I had to do the work to transition people with me.
Right.
So you can't just, in your mind decide that you're going to do something and expect people to flow. And that's why I love what you said about branding. And I say this all the time, which means we're just both brilliant. Is that your brand is not what you want it to be. It's not what you hope it will be. It's not what you think it is half the time. It's what people will say about your brand. And this is not bad. People, not like they're talking about you behind your back, but it's what they say about your brand, their perception of your brand when you're not around. And
Right.
So how often, and then Nina, I'll get to your question about Black Friday. Thank you for the link, Kevin. And I thought that I knew you by that name and not just Kevin, but I got you now. And I think you're doing a good job. But how often do you think that people should kind of do an audit of their website and an audit of their brand to make sure that they are on track with what they want it to be?
Yeah, I think when you're first starting out, I think probably every 6 months or so, because when you kind of first start building this brand, you have this, okay, I'm going to be this. And then what happens is you start talking to your audience and you realize, you know what? They're really coming to me for this. You don't drastically change, but it's like, okay, so if I'm offering this product, ain't nobody buying that, don't nobody want that. Maybe I should just hide that. And they're really asking for this. It's not changing your colors and all that, but it's just the little tweaks here and there, especially if you're building an online community. You can tell exactly what people want because they will keep asking you that same question over and over and over again. Not only that, I believe in coaching. And so I'm always working with somebody, and in conversations, they'll say, well, you got this thing. What's going on with that? Why ain't you doing nothing with that? And if I say, well, I've never thought about it, I'll start having the conversation online and see what happens. If nothing happens, then I'm not going to do anything with it for a while, but it's tabled. Once you've kind of been out there for a couple of years, you probably should just keep on that track and evaluate once a year, maybe. And again, it's not changing your colors. It's not totally redesigning your site, but as you evolve, it's kind of like clothes. Like certain things that I wore 5 years ago, I would never wear it today. Like when I am in somebody's church, I'm not going to wear this off the shoulder shirt and top of a whatever. So if I have a speaker sheet, you're not going to see a speaker sheet of me looking like this because it's not flashy, but it's not appropriate for the church. You know what I mean? So I begin to just tweak little things here and there in my conversation and my pictures and whatever to match the evolving me. So 6 months early when you're first starting, and then once a year, probably the longer you've been in business.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because for so long, because I really love the author space and I really love, using content to build your authority. And that's, really the space I wanted to stay in. And for years, people would tell me, you really need to start talking about media. Like there's nobody, with the kind of track record that you have and the information and the insight, having been in media and not, necessarily just in PR. About what the media is looking for. And I really just did not want to do it. I don't know. And it's like so funny. And finally, one of my coaches was like, okay, do you want to have a business? Right. Or do you want to be right? And so sometimes you have to give your community what they want. And so, like you said, it's not a complete rebranding. I didn't totally leave, one thing, but I was able to incorporate other pieces of it. And even with like these interviews that I do, I mean, I love the conversation. Yeah. I love just talking to people about everything, including business. And so really finding a way for me to incorporate that love into what I do and how it can be beneficial to people, was important to me. So you can add to your brand, but you have to check in and make sure you're doing it in a way that it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to build a personal brand, right? Because nobody expects the same Nikki at 19 to be the same Nikki at 32. They just don't. You're supposed to evolve. And so if Kenya Kelly today is talking about branding, yada, 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 and then tomorrow I'm talking about business development, they'll just grow with me because it's Kenya. It's not like my agency is If You Branded. They expect If You Branded to always talk about branding and consulting. But Kenya is a person who's ever evolving, ever growing. When I get engaged and get pregnant, and married and all that, and have kids, they're going to expect my conversation to change a little bit because I'm now a mom. I'm somebody's wife. When I have they just expect the evolving because they're always evolving. So when you have that personal brand, it really gives you the wiggle room to change, versus being X.
Right. And normally especially, once you've gotten through like those disastrous college years and you're kind of in your profession, I mean, you pretty much know what you stand for.
Yeah.
And sometimes even if you have to do a big brand switch, and this is just an example because it's the only thing I could think of. But say, for instance, you're a stripper when you first get out of college, and that's what you have to do to make ends meet. And then, you transition and you realize that you can do some other things and you've learned the lessons. I mean, that's a very functional part of your brand. That's a great story to show people you can start from here and you can come to here. And so a lot of times, even if your profession changes or whatever, I mean, you can still use it as a part of your story and use it as a part of your brand. So everything makes sense. Andretti, okay, yeah, no, I respect pulling numbers every quarter to make sure, especially in the beginning, that there is growth and that the reach is there, because that should always be increasing. And if you get stagnant, you might have to do something different. So that's awesome. So let's take one last question, then I'm going to let you go because we can talk about this forever. But people are asking about Black Friday, and I know a lot of coaches that I'm affiliated with or I follow has started talking about ways to master the Black Friday sales and the holiday sales.
Right.
Do you have any tips on how you can kind of ready your website for Black Friday?
Absolutely. So number one, before you ever start touching your website, determine what your deals are going to be. Okay. So if you have, for right now, like I have a pop-up on my branding site. It says holiday deals and it's telling you what those holiday deals are. Right. So you can do something like that. But if you already know that on Black Friday, you're going to have these certain types of things and your stuff is through PayPal, go ahead and create your PayPal button. Just don't post the links on your site yet. Just go ahead and get them ready. Go ahead and get your graphics created to talk about them. Go ahead and start working on your email sequences so that when you're ready to launch, you're not scrambling. You already have your idea of what you're going to do. And then when Black Friday comes, you just hit the publish button, or with your design team, whoever's doing it, they can go ahead and hit publish. A lot of people wait till the last minute, and that's why they don't make any money. Not to mention, if I could tell you guys anything, I wouldn't just launch my Black Friday deals on Black Friday. Why? Because most people are thinking about Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Best Buy on Black Friday. They ain't thinking about us. But if you start talking about your Black Friday deals like maybe next week or week after next, then they're like, wait, what? Then they start counting their coins for you too, because otherwise they're counting their coins for all these other things that's coming out on Black Friday. So you have to try to get in front of Macy's. You can't because you're not on TV or whatever, but you have to begin positioning with your people. Hey, I've got this thing coming out. It's coming out. So they can count their coin, because we get so, they ain't think about us. They being bombarded by Macy's and Neiman's and Nordstrom. So plan it out. Get your buttons already created and determine when you're going to launch your Black Friday deals. Don't do it on Black Friday. I would do it the week before, in my personal opinion. Last year, I think we did like 15,000 on Black Friday. And I was like, holy smokes. But we did it in advance and we were ready for it. And so y'all watching this, mine coming out.
And I'll just tell you a couple of things that have worked really well for me. I also extend it past Black Friday because, it's like you said, a lot of people are thinking about other things. And so sometimes, their attention just isn't there.
Right.
So I extend it past and give people a little extra time. Yep. And I really don't launch anything new for Black Friday because, like you said, you're really competing with a lot of different things. And Cyber Monday as well, Andretti, thank you. But I launched something that may have been pricey, but people were really excited about and just maybe couldn't afford. And then I'll drop the price for Black Friday and give a little bonus to people who have already bought it to thank them for their purchase at the regular price, but also give them a little something extra. And that has worked really, really well for me.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Like we had our Black Friday price and then Small Business Saturday and then Cyber Monday. And we were able to just capitalize like everybody else. We never know who's waiting on us to do something. So we might as well do it and, push it out. Everybody else is, so should we.
I agree. And so I want to really leave with this thought, and I'm going to give you a chance to give a closing thought, but I love what you said, because I think there are a lot of new entrepreneurs, or even those who have been in the business for a while. And I'm always surprised at those who don't have a plan. Like, you should have a plan for everything. You should have a plan for your product launches. You should have a plan for Black Friday, and you should have a plan for your website. It's not something that you should just start putting together. And like Kenya said earlier, not know how everything works and where you're going to send them and what's the next step and what is the payoff going to be. Because I think a lot of people, even though you go to people's websites and you just want to get information, if you do decide to do something once you're there should be a plan. Where you're going to place them. And so I really love that you said that. What are some final thoughts that you have before we wrap this up?
Yeah, so I just want to say to everybody, especially those that are, you're starting out or you have a website, you're thinking about rebranding and you don't really understand the whole website and branding process. What I would encourage you to do is just to write down, okay, 10, 20 years from now, what do I really want to be known for? Like, really, like when you were in high school or middle school, we put our names in the middle, put a circle around it, and just put the little web things outside of it. So you can start just seeing, okay, this is what all I have. This is what I could be doing, right? Then what I want you to do is to go out there on the internet and find somebody or some people that are doing it at a high level and look at their sites. I always tell my clients, if you want to be like Joyce Meyer, go look at her website. Make your site look like hers, but pay 1% of the cost, right? But you've got to pick that thing apart and realize the Facebook link, the Instagram link, all those things. And that's going to help you come up with a great website to start. Otherwise, you'll try to piece something together. So if you can't see what yours looks like, go find people, and then you can come up with a website map of your own by looking at other people. And it's not you trying to steal everybody's, but if you can't see the vision, then your designer can't see it either. But that can help you by just looking at the greats that are already doing it and, mirror them.
Right. I totally agree. So I put Kenya's website back up, but it's just like great branding. It's just her name, KenyaKelly.com. And you can find her as Kenya Kelly on all the sites. I know, because I went to go find her on the sites we were not connected on, and she was there as Kenya Kelly. So it was really, really easy. And you can subscribe. I put it the subscription if you want to get info on the information about interviews beforehand. You can definitely connect with me there, and I'll make sure that you have it. And I also send out replays, but I also give away great stuff to the people that are on my list. And so I would love to have you there as well. So Kenya, thank you for your saying yes. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
But then you gave so much great information that I'm excited about talking to you more and really learning about you and what you do and how we can work together in growing our brands.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sure that I will see you on Facebook either later today or tomorrow. But I appreciate all the questions and the support as always. And it's not too late to share it. Get it out there so that people can understand some of this information on branding and website. I agree, Celestine. It was really a great information shared today. So I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye, Kenya.
Bye.